Good evening, everyone. This is Saurav Samar here from Global Vision Migration. So we are back again on like every Friday. Today is 6 p.m. So we are actually doing a Facebook migration show, and we have been doing this from the last 4 weeks, and we will continue to do this as well. And we are also planning to do it in the different languages as well. And today in this show, we have Amrit Palkor from SaviMac Migration, and she will be joining us. She will be providing her expert advice as well today. So, Amritpal,
Thank
welcome.
you, Saurabh, for having me. Hello, everybody. As Saurabh mentioned, my name is Amrit. I'm a registered migration agent as well. I work with Sevi Migration. Um, we're actually live on both the pages right now with Saurabh and me. We're doing this together so we can help as many people as possible.
Thanks, Amrit.
Awesome.
So, pretty much
Do
today
you
we will be
want to start?
discussing. Yeah, so today we will be discussing a lot of different topics, and so pretty much the best part about this show is that not even just one migration advice, you're getting advice from two different migration agents.
That's correct.
So it's always better. Two is always better than one,
That's right.
and exactly. So we will not waste much of your time, and we will jump right in, and we will
Yeah.
start discussing about the September invitation round.
Yeah,
So the so
before
the Yep,
sorry, before
yep.
you go ahead, I would like to tell everybody who's joining us today that you are more than welcome to ask us any questions at the end of the show. We'll try to answer as many as possible. If you don't get us to ask any questions today, you can just leave a comment and we'll be replying to it later as well.
Yeah, and also let your friends and family know that we are actually doing this live session. So pretty much, if you don't need any assistance, probably your friends or family looking for some kind of immigration advice in regards to their particular scenario. And as we said that we are actually registered migration agents. My migration agent registration number is 1802044, and Amritpal will tell hers.
Yeah, so my registration number is 180162. I'm sure you can search us on Omara's website that we're registered as well with that number. We'll also share our phone numbers in case you want to speak to us later. My office number is 0492810604, and Saurabh will share his.
Yeah, and my mobile number is 0430081804. So that's pretty much our introduction. And today we'll start with straight away start our conversation with the September invitation round. So Amrit, as you're already aware of that this morning, the round happened at 9 a.m. this morning,
Oh my
where
God, crazy
yeah,
day.
exactly, and it's Friday, so you can't end your weekend with anything positive than getting an invitation for 189.
So correct. Well done. It's always great to have so many invitations coming in. And then, you can tell your clients that, you have received invitation. Yay. And they can celebrate on the weekend. Of course, if you're in Victoria in the lockdown, don't go out and party.
Exactly. Absolutely. And so I'll just do a quick brief information about what about the occupations and at what points they receive invitation. So there were a lot of health professionals who actually received invitations today for 189. Even most of them were actually offshore as well. And the invitations round were pretty much the occupation was medical laboratory scientist. So they actually received invitation at bare minimum of 65 points for 189. That was
That's
actually a
crazy.
miracle. Yeah,
That's crazy, Saurabh. So that just means that Australia is still requiring a lot of medical professionals. If you're a medical professional and you would like to help Australia or you wanted to come to Australia on a permanent basis, I think it's the right time to apply for that expression of interest now. And 65 points is nothing. In the last few years we've been looking at 90, 95 points and people who are not getting invitations.
exactly. And because 65 is, is a starting point, and getting an invitation at the starting point is actually thing of a past. It only happened in
Correct.
2013, 2014.
Yes, I know. It's been a long time since we've seen that, but that's some great news now. So, if you're a medical professional and you wanted to get some advice on how to do the next step, call Saurabh and call me.
Yeah, certainly, and we're more than happy to assess your situation and then dive into straight away and provide you the proper response and the information regards to your scenario. And also, always check your case with the registered migration agent. Don't
That's
go
very
and seek
important.
assistance. Yeah, and it's actually it's a crime to provide immigration assistance if you are not a migration agent. Just to let you
Yes.
know.
Saurabh, did you see that report that came in last week from Omara, which is our governing authority? More than 80% of the cases are dealt with unprofessional migrations, or maybe I would say non-migration agents. And then, if something goes wrong, the migration, the person who's not registered, he's not going to suffer. So the clients will suffer. So it's
Exactly.
always best to go on Omara's website, look who's registered, and then contact that person.
Exactly. And in most of the scenarios, there is an issue of a liability as well. Because we as
Correct.
registered migration agents, we are meant to have we are supposed to keep our registration active. We have to attend seminars. We have to keep our information, our knowledge up to date. We need to have a professional indemnity insurance, in things when goes wrong, then, our clients, we don't leave them hanging. We provide them the proper assistance. The Momara can step in. So these are some things that people actually look into that as well.
That's right.
So should we just start with the Victoria State nomination?
Yes, go ahead, Sarah. I think
Okay.
Victoria has just recently opened on the 8th of September, and they're opening until 21st of September. So they haven't opened up the nomination process. The only thing that's open is you will be able to register your interest, which is giving Victoria more opportunity to look at who should they invite or who should they not. So anybody in Victoria who's been working and living in Victoria since last 6 months, and we can prove that your work experience was in critical sector, and it has to be same as your skill assessment as well, of course. And then you have to make sure that you're contributing to Victoria's economy. You can apply for registration. Isn't that great?
Yes, it is. Like, I like this way of doing this rather than, you straight away apply for the nomination. And then if you do not meet the requirements, you get rejected. And then Victoria do
Yes,
normally put a 6 months ban on you as well for
that's right.
reapplying.
I think because Victoria last time refused it when they stopped the migration process, they refused heaps of applications because they were full. I think Victoria's picking up and then trying to do the justice to all those people as well. So when you're registering your interest, what that means that is you're just putting in information, and then they will decide, okay, we like this person. Let's say this person is highly skilled, a medical professional or a midwife who's been working for many years, or who's got good experience, or maybe a chef who's been working in an aged care, and working in the critical sector. And then Victoria will decide, yes, we need these people. Let's just invite them. Then we'll get an invitation to apply for the full nomination, and then you get a full nomination, and then we can apply for the visa.
Absolutely. Like, I like this, the process. So,
That
so
is
first of
correct.
all, you have to do an EOI. And most importantly, Amrit, how they said that, the EOI has to be, any EOI is done prior to 1st of September will not be accepted.
Yeah, I
So this
don't
is a
know
very
why.
important thing.
Yeah, why did they say that? Because most of the other states were saying you don't have to lodge a new EOI, but Victoria said no, we're not going to take any prior EOI. So, which is a good thing. And then everybody has to note down, if you've already lodged your expression of interest before 1st of September, Victoria is not going to take a look at it. They've clearly said no.
Yeah, like I actually have no idea what was the motive behind that as well, but pretty much it's actually a good thing as well in some way where people they actually revamp and check if their information is still accurate, put a
That's
new
right.
EOI through. Yeah,
Right. Plus the registration of interest as well.
exactly. So with the
I think,
registration of interest, yeah,
yeah, I think their way of saying that is because there are so many EOIs in our system already, with Victoria ticked as well. So I think they wanted to make sure that they're only getting the new the new EOIs, people who know that they are meeting the requirements, and then only they will apply, not an EOI which has been in the system for more than 1 year ago, and who might not be working in the skilled occupation anyway.
Exactly. And I just want to quickly share this kind of information with our viewers, that with the ROI as well, there is when you are applying for an ROI, there is no requirement right now to actually provide the documents. So
Documentation,
pretty
that's
much
right.
currently it's only based on the information as well. But upon the successful invitation to apply for the nomination, you need to make sure that you have those kind of documents ready.
That's
So be
correct.
very careful. Yeah.
Be very careful. Don't submit anything dodgy, which means that you're showing that you've been working, but you haven't been, because you will have to provide that evidence at later stage. There is no point in getting the invitation right now and getting the visa refused later with bogus documents.
Absolutely. And another thing, moving forward, like so the on 6th of October, as you know how the federal government they actually give out the numbers, that these are the numbers that we have actually allocated to different states
Right.
until up until the budget release on 6th of October. So I'll just quickly go ahead and say like how many
Yeah, go
numbers
ahead.
are actually being allocated. So as people know, that Victoria is actually currently dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic more than any other states, and I believe in that.
For us.
That's the reason why the state has actually, the federal government has allocated higher 190 allocations to Victoria itself. It's sitting at
Correct.
600 190 nomination places,
Right.
and approximately around 200 nomination places for 491 visa.
That's correct. So,
And
and yeah, sorry, go ahead, Saurabh.
and the total places will be 900, approximately 800 places that's been allocated to
That's right.
Victoria at this point of time.
And it's wonderful that we have this only until October, so which gives us like 1 month, 2 months to fill up 600. So if you're thinking that you are working in the critical sector and you can qualify for Victoria, I would not suggest you to wait any longer. I think now is the time, and 800 is a good number for 1 month. Just looking at the previous stacks, anyway, it was not as much, and Victoria's got good scores now. So why should we wait? And Victoria is desperately in need at this stage. I could not wait to get over this lockdown, this stage 4. But then it is for us because we're so many. I think with most of the other states, they're big states and they're little number of people, whereas in Victoria we're not as big of a state, but we do have a lot of people because Melbourne is the most livable city. So that makes us more prone to COVID-19. And do you want to also share about the business innovation as well?
Yeah, sure. So, and also, as kind of a post COVID-19, the economy recovery, the federal government and the other state governments, they are actually pushing for people to actually come to Australia and open their business, do the business
Right.
here, so that they can actually provide employment to local Australians, permanent residents and citizens as well.
Yeah.
And there are like 400 nomination places being allocated to the business innovation and investment program for only until 6th of October. That's actually a very big number, because people who are coming to Victoria on an average, they would be at least investing 500,000 to $1 million. And
Right.
with such a big number, like 400 places available to them, as you can see, there's a lot of big investments coming to Victoria, as we can see right now with this one. And
Yeah.
Amritpal, surprisingly, I looked into that the number allocations, and with the South Australia, they've actually got the highest number, 900 places. And surprisingly, only 200 were actually allocated to 190, and more than approximately around 600 been allocated to 491 visas in South Australia. Like
Well,
this
you
is
you know how South Australia works. They're really, I would say, a fussy state putting nominations. So I think they just wanted all for most of the 491s only.
exactly.
And
So it
even the
could be
business one is less for them.
Yeah, even the business investors is actually even less than
180.
even half of what Victoria has received.
Yeah, I think all I'm hoping is we do get all those investments and, the jobs pick up again in Victoria and then boost the economy so, we can have good days again.
Exactly. Yeah, so we are hoping for those days to actually get back, and pretty much.
Sorry,
So
Saurabh, before we go
mm,
further on the 485, I forgot to mention for the work experience, 6 months work experience, they haven't really specified, have they, that do we need, how many hours should we be working?
they actually have not notified, but they have also gave some tips out saying that that your employment must also reflect what you have actually claimed in your EOI, and you
That's
would
right.
not claim anything less than 20 hours per week in your EOI
That's
anyway.
correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's what I was coming back to anyway, because I've seen a lot of people saying, if you're even working 10 hours or, less, then you should be able to do that. But then if you're not claiming the points for it, there's no point lodging it. The EOI should reflect what you're actually working. So that's a very good point, Saurabh.
Yeah. And also, when it comes to working in a critical sector, so they have said two things. If you're either working in providing a medical response into this COVID-19, or
Right?
you're assisting in the boosting up with the post-COVID-19 recovery as well. So those are
Right.
the two critical sectors that they are actually focusing on right now.
Yeah, so if it doesn't matter if you're only a health professional or you're working as a business analyst in IT section or you're working as a trade occupant, something where you are boosting the economy plus you are working in the critical areas, you can apply. It doesn't have to be just a midwife or a doctor who can apply.
Absolutely. Should we move on to subclass
Yes,
485?
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect. Um,
Okay. So do you want to start with what's happening with 485s? Do you get a lot of inquiries? Because I certainly do get a lot of inquiries from overseas.
yeah,
Yeah, and then
there are there,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, there's a lot of people actually, who actually went overseas on a holiday in the month of March, and then somehow the rules were changed and they were actually stuck overseas and they cannot come back.
Yes, I'm lucky I came back in February because I was in a holiday in India attending a wedding. But then, yeah, a lot of people have been stuck there, It's crazy that they could not come back. Some people were holding bridging visas, some people were holding student visas, some had applied for TR, 485, but couldn't get it. Well, a 485 visa, as you all know, it's an onshore visa. So you have to apply it while you're in Australia and you have to get it granted while in Australia. Yeah. So I do get inquiries where people are saying, okay, what happens next? Can I apply for 485 if I'm stuck overseas? Well, the answer is with the media release, the department has actually said that they will give you more time, then they will give you 12 months to finish your studies and then you can apply. But have you seen any legislation changes as yet, Sarah? Because I
No, I
haven't.
think no, there is only media release from the the ministers saying that they will be looking into this and there's gonna be some legislation in place, but we haven't got anything in black and white yet. There's nothing
Yeah.
concrete yet.
No.
So
So yeah, so in 485, and it's one of the critical visas. If you get your 485 right, you are good. But if you get your 485 wrong, you are pretty much in a mess for the rest of the time in Australia. um, and then most of the requirements are at the time of application. You can't even provide them later.
absolutely. So the only thing we can do is we can just hope for the new legislations to be passed on, where the people who are actually stuck overseas can and be
Apply
eligible to
from there.
apply for. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
and also there was a lot of visas were actually were expired on 30th of August, where people they finished their studies in July and then they were waiting and they could not book their PTE test in Victoria itself because
Yes.
of the stage 4 restrictions.
Right. So I think my suggestion would be, if you still have time and you're in Australia and you still have time to lodge for your 485, I would say wait until the last minute. Maybe there is some legislation coming up soon, if you don't have that English test yet. Because, well, department has said you can apply for 485 without an English test, but you can say put in the booking. But there is no concrete answer if they will be just granting the visa or waiting for you or just refusing it. And that is a big risk.
Because that is just the the basic information that they have actually provided. There is no legislation basis on on that, because the requirement is at the time of application that the person must have done English test in the last 3 years prior to the application. And
That's
that
right.
requirement, exactly. And government can't just they, in order to for them to actually make any adjustments or amendments to any regulations, they have to pass a legislative instrument, which they have not done for 485 visa yet.
Yeah, I think they should prioritize 485 because that's the majority of people in Australia right now and majority of people who are stuck overseas. They should literally look at this as a priority because, some of those people might be working in the critical sector when they come here, or it will boost Australia's economy as well. So I think, with 485s, I want to go back and tell you all again that the requirements for what are the requirements 485 if you're doing it yourself or you're getting someone to do it. It's at all at the time of application. You should have English test or booked English test and gotten the results in that same English test again, if that makes sense. Because, if you've just booked the test and you're still just lodging the application, like we said, there's no concrete answer that you'll definitely get it granted and the department will wait for you, but that's what they're saying. So I'll say we'll go with that. And you have to have your AFP done, and it has to be the full disclosure, right? Complete
Yes,
disclosure. It has to be 1 day prior to the application. You have to have your health insurance, your completion letter. It has to be within 6 months of your completion date of your course. Department said they'll give you 12 months, but then there's been nothing in terms of the papers as yet.
absolutely. And just a tip, when it comes to doing your AFP police checks as well, as currently, if you are staying in Australia for more than 12 months, there's a lot of I'm getting inquiries from a lot of people whose parents are actually currently in Australia from last 6 months, and then they cannot go back, and then they're planning on extending their stay for another 6 months, and the immigration is actually asking for their overseas police clearance,
That's
even their
right.
federal police check as well. And
That's
for those people, yeah, I would like to give them a quick tip that, if you are in this kind of, because those parents, they are unable to, they don't have a bank account because they come here on a visitor visa holiday, they just want to spend time. They don't have those Australian driver's license and all that stuff. But what AFP has actually advised is that you can actually use your visa grant letter as a terms of,
point.
to provide for the identity evidence.
That's right. And that's a good point,
So
Saurabh, because a lot of people didn't know that.
exactly, I've seen like a lot of people, they are quite worried. They don't know what to do in this kind of scenario. So this is something, you can actually look into it, where if you can't provide that kind of your bank statements and stuff, provide your parents visa grant letter. And always, whenever you're applying for a federal police check, there is a number, option number 33. So that's actually for immigration, and it does says when you click on it, full disclosure.
Yes.
That's the one you need it.
Well, coming back to AFP, I have realized another thing that a lot of people do mistake is they would go on any website and apply for AFP and pay $9,800 or something. Guys, it's only $42. That's the real website where they only ask you for $42 for one person. That's it. Don't pay.
Absolutely. So exactly, yeah. So it's like, AFP something, there's a website. It's a government website, so you're
Right.
not gonna miss it.
Yes. And if anybody,
So
any website is asking you for more than $42, don't go ahead. Don't do that.
Yep, and just ask your any migration agent.
Your migration agents, or ask us how to do it.
Exactly. And yeah, so should we go forward and talk about
Yeah,
407?
yeah,
Uh,
407, one of my favorites. Yay.
hmm, hmm.
Okay, I'll let you start on this for first, Saurabh, and then I'll talk about it.
Okay, so pretty much this 407 training visa is actually you can get this visa up to 2 years, provided it has three different streams where you need it for your registration, you need it to upskill yourself. Plus, if there is actually a requirement in some kind of a business where there is a where they need you to be there in the business,
Right.
and so the term is 407 training visa. It's quite similar to a student visa, but it's actually you'll be working for your employer and
Yep.
kind of employer sponsored visa, but it's actually the lowest level of all of them. So
Yep.
that's pretty much how I would put it together in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. That's good. That's good explanation, Saurabh. Thank you. Well, if your 405 is expiring and you're in Australia and you don't know what is the next step, I think 407 might be the option for you. Now, 407 training visa requires you to have 1 year of study or work experience in last 2 years. So that means if you've been working, let's say you're in a trade occupation and you are a chef or a painter, anyway, you've been doing job ready program in your last year, which means a full-time paid employment, you're meeting that requirement of 1 year work experience in last 2 years. Your TR is about to expire. Do you want to go back to student visa? Because that's a lot of money. And if you go back to student visa, you'll go back to part-time hours. Well, 407 training visa, what it lets you do is your employer can sponsor you to have a training under the employer. It could be an upskill, which means that if you are a painter, maybe you want a better job at painting. I think painter is not a good option for me to explain right now. Easier to explain would be a carpenter. A carpenter who is working, just normal cabinets and everything or stuff like that. But the employer is more specialized, making maybe wheelchairs of different type or different set of specialized equipment which involves carpentry. So you can work as a trainee under the employer. You'll get 1 to 2 years of visa. You can work full time. And it depends on how we put in the training plan if that 1 to 2 years of work experience will be calculated towards your general skills migration points. It is very important that your migration agent knows what to put in that training plan, how to draft it in terms of making sure that that work experience can be considered for for maybe claiming 3 years of work experience or 2 years of work experience. And that is one step lower to 482 visa, which is a temporary TSS visa. It's not as costly as other employer visas. I think the whole process is sponsorship, nomination, and visa for one person. Department's cost is around $1,000. And you don't have to continue to study. You don't have to pay hefty fees to the colleges to maintain your visa status. The only thing that you'll have to know in this one is if you're the primary applicant, your secondary applicant will have part-time work rights, but you will have full work rights.
And you can only work for your own employer.
Yes, that's correct. You can only work for the one employer. And one thing I want to make sure that I'm putting forward here is you cannot do job ready program for trade occupations on 407 visa.
Absolutely,
Okay, don't think you can continue to the 407 a job ready on 407.
Yeah, because I think the purpose for 407 is actually to cover that skill gap that you have in your skills.
That's
And
right, to
that's the
enhance.
exactly. And those are the skill gaps that we actually cover in your training plan. That's how the
Right,
training plan is actually it's drafted in such a way where which explains the department that look, this person is up to this level and he needs to go up to that level, and this is
right,
the gap he has, and
right.
we want to cover this gap in the next 18 months period, or maybe in the next 2 years time.
That's right. That's right. And then it is one of the, I think it's one of my clients' favorite. Most of my clients go ahead with this option, even if they don't meet the 482 option. You know, obviously there's something that you can do in 407. And remember, you have to have 1 year of study and work experience. So if you have just recently graduated in master's or bachelor's within last 2 years, that also fulfills one of the requirements.
Absolutely, and provided you do have an employer, that's the most important aspect of this visa.
That's correct. And then I think what Australia is trying to do is mostly prioritizing those where people are actually employed and there's business which are being affected. Um, and that's how I guess 407 is a good alternative to student visas in some cases after 485 or even after finishing your student visa.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's pretty much about 407. The only thing that you guys need to remember is it's a three-step process. First is the employer must be get a sponsorship. Then there's
Yeah,
a
temporary
nomination.
activity sponsor. Yeah.
Yep. And then there's a visa application. So there's a three steps to this visa. And don't get confused. Don't confuse this visa with the 482 visas or
Um,
different visas.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I wanted to put forward, sorry, Saurabh, I wanted to put forward as well that TSS sponsorship or a two sponsorship is completely different. If your employer is already sponsoring other employees on 482 and he wants to do a 407, he will have to get a new sponsorship.
absolutely, and that is called temporary activity sponsor, which is completely different than a standard business sponsorship. So do not
Yeah,
confuse that sponsorship with this. You cannot link them.
right.
Should we move on to the latest the PMSOL that everyone's talking about?
Yes, go ahead, Saurabh. I think you were more excited about this than I am, so let's go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason for how I was excited about this the priority migration skill occupational list was um, those 17 occupations. One of my favorites ones are software engineer and developer programmer, and
That's,
it's
yeah,
basically it's only for those people who are currently employed in Australia by the Australian businesses, and they've been so they actually get the chance to either obtain a travel exemption to come to Australia and work for their employer, but they
perfect.
actually have to go through the quarantine process at their own expense.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be expensive for them,
Well, I
quarantine
would be
for.
happy to see if employers are paying for it.
Oh, this could be a chance, where this morning, another note, I was actually talking to one of the education institutes in Gold Coast this morning. So he actually gave me a bit of hint, like, that they are actually still in the talks with the state governments and federal governments about bringing back the international students but every student, whoever will come, they have to do the 14 days of quarantine, and 14 days of quarantine is expensive for an international student.
That's correct.
And
That's
they are actually trying to work out something where the colleges and the institutes or the universities, they
mm,
assist with the help of with the state governments or federal governments, as well as the student themselves, to chip in for their quarantine. So if that comes in place, I think the international students would start coming. The flow would start soon.
I think that's a very good option that they should put forward because you know how many dollars people spend on universities and colleges each year anyway, and I'm glad to know that there are some universities who are helping students who are already here financially, giving them scholarships for online programs and stuff like that. But then I think as a community in Australia, we should all work towards that, and that includes the colleges, the universities, the churches, the religion, the other things here, the temples here, some of the hospitals, because I think in an overall just Australia is basically for international students. So there's a lot of international students who are working here and boosting our economy, and they should be regarded with respect for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then, yeah, going back to the same, the PMSOL list. So it is, this list is, there's a lot of speculations whether the occupations in those lists are actually will be getting invitations for general skill migrations. There is no certain requirements that has been established for that, but predominantly, as we can see, the list was actually discussed or was introduced by the immigration minister in talks with the employment minister.
That's
That
right.
means that yeah, so that means that this list probably might only assist apply clients, who are actually doing a employer sponsored visas.
That's right. And the good thing is if you have an employer sponsored visas and you are one of the person in this list, you can get a travel exemption, which is good because Australia needs you. The good idea, like you said, your best is the software engineer, right? Your best one. I think I like that one too because for once there are more options for IT sector. You've
Yeah,
seen, I've seen in last few months, states have not been very kind to IT professionals. But then I've actually pointed out, I've written down which one were my favorite. The first one was as well the construction project manager because the construction industry hasn't stopped. It's booming,
ab-
which is good. So the people who are working in construction, obviously, they are also one of our critical sectors because if we stop construction, the economy will just crash, I guess. Yeah, and then
absolutely.
there are others. There are some engineers. There are this developer programmer, this software engineer. So if you are one of those, you have a skilled occupation in that, and then you have an employer. I think you can speak to employer and apply for an employer sponsored visa if you're stuck overseas and then come up here.
Absolutely. So think of this as well, like, occupations in this list obviously will be prioritized. There will be
Right.
other occupations would actually have to wait no matter what. So
That's right.
these are the occupations, these are the ones that will be actually prioritized. And if you are currently on a 485 visa, a lot of people they do ask me, look, I just finished my degree, what should I do? The best advice anyone can give you is actually look for an employment in your own field. This might not help you straight away right now, but moving forward 2 years from today, it's certainly going to help you in a different scenario. It probably can assist you with the employer sponsored visas, or probably can also help assist you once if you have 3 years of work experience and all other requirements. You can even go through an permanent residency option through employer nomination scheme.
That's right. That's one thing I want to put forward here as well. We know most of people in Australia, most of students, they know everything about GSM, General Skilled Migration Visa. They Most of them really think that only having 95 points is the way to get permanent residency here. But if you're working here, you have a good employer who can sponsor you. I think you do have good chances of permanent visas without having to have 95 points, without having to do that 8 each in English and NATI and everything. So I think it's best that you have to speak to a migration agent and find out a way. GSM is not the only way. There are so many options today.
Absolutely. Even, investment options are also available as well. There are some people, who cannot even get, 6 each in the English, but they can get permanent residency through the investment
That's right.
program. So
That's right.
there's a variety of options available. So don't just, stick to general skill migration, because general skill migration is sometimes, it's like an on and off. Sometimes it's open and sometimes it's off, depending upon how the economy is going as well.
Yeah, and it's very quick to change, isn't it? It just
Yeah.
changes. Like one day you will have 90 points invitation for an account, and then the next day you will have at 100 points, which means all the
And
90s are gone zero.
exactly. And it's been 6 months, and none of the accountants have actually received any invitations at all. So if you
Right.
are an accountant and if you are listening to this, and if you're currently working with your employer as well and have enough work experience, think of other options such as employer
Right.
nomination scheme or temporary skill shortage visa.
Yeah. And then one question I do get most of the time is, do I still need a skills assessment? Yes, for every permanent visa, you do need a skills assessment. So that would be the first thing on your mind um, to do after you finish your studies. just finish up with your skills assessment, have that ready. Let's say if something comes up tomorrow and there's new changes in the law and you are an accountant or maybe a chef who can qualify for that visa, then you need to have a skills assessment ready.
Absolutely. And on the same note, I actually had a client who missed out the opportunity of New South Wales 491 because he actually didn't have his skill assessment ready. And then later on, he missed out Victoria 190 as well because he didn't have his skill assessment ready as well.
No, that is
And
the first thing you have to do. Very first thing.
because if we are actually advising you to do something, we are not just saying for the sake of it. There is some kind of a reasoning and experience behind that as well. That's where we are trying to explain you the reason behind that as well.
Yeah, I do get sometimes people are saying, clients are calling and I have this many points. I have this all done and ready. And then I realized looking at the documentations, there's no skills assessment. You can't do anything with 115 points without a skills assessment.
Absolutely. And should we talk about this quickly? We just quickly do a good brief about the LMT requirements.
And then we'll take questions, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay,
and
do you want to
so
come up with this? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly do a quick brief information in regards to the new labor market testing, and it only applies to the 482, 494, 457 is no longer in question. So 482, 494, and even there is no requirement to do LMTs for 186, but it's advisable to show that the position is genuine in the business, etc. So those are the kind of things. But the most important thing that you should take from this session in regards to job labor market testing is that in addition to those two advertisements that you put for at least 28 days, now the extra step that you have to also do is you have to post an advertisement on a job active website. And job active website is a government website. Maybe they want to see how many people are actually applying for those roles. A lot of people who actually go to Centrelink for the dole payments, Centrelinks do refer them to job active website. That look, you go and apply for the jobs in there, and then you bring us how many jobs you applied, and based on that we will look into what payment evidence, what payment plans, or what kind of benefits you are actually entitled to.
Yeah, for Centrelink. Yeah, I've done a job active advertisement for an employer for a specialist teacher, and you won't believe, Saurav, I got so many resumes of a laborer, of a chef working, because they're just applying to just get Centrelink benefits. They just want to show them that they've applied for a job, even if that's suitable or not. They don't really care.
Absolutely. So because I did the same for a software engineer, and within a day already had 30 applications. So these are the things that be very mindful. But apparently a new legislative instrument was passed, and we have to do it and it applies to any nomination applications that you are planning to lodge after 30th of September.
Yeah.
So those ones must have a job active LMT must have been done.
Yeah. So if you're one of those who've already done your LMT and then you're just about to lodge your nomination, I think it's time to do it before 30th of September, 1st of October. Because if you leave it until last minute, you might have to redo all 3 ads again.
Absolutely. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything about the labor market requirements that was recently published by the government, by the federal government. As migration law is actually a very dynamic environment, and it keeps changing all the time. Every day we do get to hear something new. You wake up next morning and probably there is some kind of a new updates available. By the end of the day, there is something new happening up. So it's very important
crazy.
Exactly. And it's always important to keep yourself up to date, to know what's happening around you as well.
That's right.
And
guys, please like, comment, and share this video as much as possible. Maybe it's not relevant to you. Maybe your relatives would much appreciate to have such information. It's good that you should be doing this and sharing as much possible.
Exactly. So that you pass this information to someone who actually needs this kind of information. And now what we'll do is we will quickly answer the questions that have been actually posted on our Facebook, this live session. We will try to answer all of them. But if you do have any questions in particular to your own scenario, you can feel free to actually send us a message. You can WhatsApp us, or you can even contact us through our Facebook page. So those are
Correct.
the kind of communications methods are available. And
Yeah.
another thing, I just want to quickly point it out as well, that was published yesterday by the Migration Institute of Australia, that with the travel exemptions, they've actually added one new category, that if you currently hold 188 visa, which is a business investor visa, you
You're
can
automatically
get,
exempt.
exactly, because they want you
Yeah.
to come back and run your business.
Yeah. Australia needs money right now, really badly.
Absolutely. We need you back.
We need everybody back. That's right.
Okay. So let's talk. Let's take this first question, Amit. You want to take this
Okay.
one? I'll put that up here.
Okay. Um, Thanks to Saurabh from Muhammad Ali and Amrit. Thank you. I have 90 plus 5 motor mechanic points in Sydney. What are my chances of 190 New South Wales in October? Can I expect 190 invite in October, or should I move to regional and try for 491? Thanks. Oh, well, Mohammed, that is something that we're all looking forward to the October to have the exact requirements out yet. It is crazy around this time. Usually every year we do have the new requirements, but we don't have any new requirements for New South Wales as yet. They said they'll mention it, but they haven't. There's no occupational list on their website as yet. I think we'll have to wait, but 90 plus 5 points is a very good points. What do you think,
Yeah,
Saurabh?
yeah, absolutely. Like 90 plus 5 points is actually really good points. I have the same. I have one of my clients, in New South Wales from last 6 months. Similar points. We're still waiting for him to actually. We have applied for 190 as well as 491 as well.
Yeah,
So what my advice is to just stick around for to see how the new federal budget pans out. As New
right.
South Wales has already said that how most of the states are currently looking for IT engineers as well as health professionals at this point of time.
Until
Probably
October.
after the
Yeah.
budget they might have better options available.
Yeah, and if you're currently working, Mohammed, I would suggest to continue working because if nothing happens for 90 plus 5 points, you'll definitely have employer sponsored visa options. Stay,
Absolutely.
yeah, just stay with the employer.
So we have another question from Jyotish Mehta. She
Yeah.
wants to know, what if the skill assessment is not yet done? Amrit, what's your take on this?
Well, we've already spoken about this. I think she's talking about the Victoria State nomination. You will have to have a skill assessment because for the Victoria State nomination, basically, if you're applying for an expression of interest, you should have a skills assessment to apply for it in the first place. Because by any chance you receive the invitation, you don't have the skills assessment, that invitation has gone null and void. You can't apply for visa because you won't get it. And basically what it says is you've wasted one invitation for yourself and for others. So that was the very first thing you should be doing, it having a skills assessment ready as ASAP. If your skilled occupation authority puts a priority, then request them for priority processing if you haven't done so.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's actually really good idea. You need to actually um, keep getting this. The skill assessment is actually really important, as we cannot emphasize anymore enough. Plus, I would
Yeah.
like to let our viewers know to please, if you do have any questions, feel free to post your questions here, so we can certainly, we are more than happy to answer your questions right away. We will try our best to answer all of them. So
Yeah.
feel free to post your questions, and so that you can ask right now, and then
Yeah.
we can actually, maybe there's something that you are shy, you don't want to ask in public, you can just send us a message. But
Yeah.
there
And
must be
no
some
question
question
is silly
that,
question. Sorry. No
exactly,
question is silly question.
yeah, it might not be helpful to you, but it might help someone else.
Yeah, maybe there are 10 other people who are still waiting for the same question to be asked by somebody else.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jasprit. Hi, Jasprit. What about those ones who are working as chef and cook in restaurants not in critical sector? Are they eligible for 491 and or they are able to submit EOI? Well, Jasprit, I know you're in Victoria, so you're talking about Victoria. Well, yes, chef and cook is not in the critical sector, but we've discussed about this, me and Saurabh again, this live, that if you're working since last 6 months and you can prove that it was some benefit to the Victorians economy, which means that business is generating income, and then it is doing well still in the COVID, well, basically boosting the economy, you can still apply. And it's only a registration of interest. It doesn't hurt if to apply. It's not that you will be refused and you'll get a 6 months ban or something. I think I would suggest anybody who's working, because in this last since March, lots of industries have been shut down because they could not keep up with the workload and with the lockdown and everything. So if you are still working, which is a good thing, that like I said, it's the economy that's being affected positively, so you should apply. Why not? What do you think, Saurabh?
Absolutely. Look, there is no harm in applying for ROI, and you probably would get a response from Victoria. And it's also about how you are putting your work in front of them. You
Right.
know, exactly. Like even though if you are a registered nurse working from 6 months, so don't just think that that because the work of a registered nurse is actually to medically support the either aged care or the particular hospital, but that doesn't mean that your work is quite critical in the response of COVID-19. It's how you actually present it to the state government. That is also very important as well. So
That's
it's
right.
also just with how you actually present it to the state authority, how important your work is and how you're assisting in recovery in your COVID-19 post recovery of economy. So this one from Sachin Vitharana, I'll read that
Yes.
out for you. It's can you explain about the 476? Like someone who is in Victoria yet couldn't secure a degree related job, what could you predict on the government's approach?
I think you're talking about people who are already here on a 476 and could not get a job, right?
I
So
think
that
they,
is
yeah,
because that 476 is like a 485 from overseas, right? I think it's the same approach with most of it's sad with 476. They usually have to go back to student visa, and then it's sad that you can only apply for 476 and 485 only once in your lifetime. And if you haven't secured a job, sadly you'll have to go back to a student visa if you want to stay in the country. But if while holding 476 you have still done some education, then you can go for 407 as well, isn't it, Saurabh? Because it's the requirement
absolutely.
is 1 year in last 2 years. It could be study or work experience. So I would suggest all of those who are on 476 and who've just started, they should just start studying something to maybe get an employer to sponsor them later on 407, or the student visa is always an option.
Absolutely. And I would like to share two examples, which I actually did. I did discuss with you as well. Remember, I had two clients on 476. One was a civil engineer, and another
Right.
one was a what's it called? Quantity surveyor. So one from
Yes.
Sri Lanka, another from Sudan, and they
Right.
actually end up getting their 491 visas from Victoria because
Perfect.
the first day they actually arrive, they start looking for their employment.
That's
they
correct.
found they found their employer, and then they actually found the employer in the regional locations.
Again, I would say the same thing for 476. As soon as you get in Australia, apply for that skills assessment, please. Because a lot of
Yeah,
people think that the provisional skills assessment would be it, that's it. But no, you have to have the full skills assessment. And, like the last time, Victoria had 491 options available if you were just to get a job offer. And it doesn't hurt. You should just start looking for jobs, and enhance your skills while you're in Australia.
absolutely. So because a lot of people, they come to 476, they They think of Australia as they want to look for a job in the Melbourne CBD itself, in the metropolitan area. They don't want to move out. The best option is, as if you are a civil engineer, if you're a quantity surveyor, go outside the context. Look, there is a bushfire affected area in Gippsland, so look
That's
for the
right.
jobs in that area. There's plenty of opportunities in that area. That area is also known as Latrobe region, and Latrobe region is only known for manufacturing. There's
That's
so many
right.
manufacturing jobs. There's so many factories, manufacturing units out there.
Yep.
It's
All engineering
exactly,
based.
absolutely. And 476 is, most of them, like 90% of them, are engineers and civil engineers and all that stuff.
Correct. You've already got smart brains to do the engineering. I'm sure you can crack a job. You will easily get a job. Just keep looking. Maybe you'll have to go to recruitment agencies and try from there.
Absolutely. And yeah, so let's move on to the next question. One is
Yeah.
actually for you, Amrit.
Hi, Verona. How are you? Any update about the application for Chef TSS sponsorship? Are we going to get affected because the PMSOL and the current situation? So employer-sponsored visas are just going as it is. No negative effect. Only positive effect for those who are actually in PMSOL list. So if we're applying as a chef for TSS, it's not going to adversely affect you. It's just that people in that list is going to get prioritized. That's it. They haven't said that they will only grant for those PMSOL. It's just that that application will happen faster, will have faster answer time than any other occupation. So don't worry.
Absolutely. For chef, this afternoon I was talking to my another colleague who is also a migration agent, and he advised that, the current processing time has actually rocketed up. It's sitting at least 6 months for for the normal occupations, etc. Even we are currently waiting for one of our the PMSOL occupation. It has been more
Yeah,
than 2 months already. So
they're not
um,
that quick.
exactly. So it's I don't know how the first question we should ask them is, please define priority.
Yeah, I know. It's and it's we've seen this over this year. Australia government, the immigration. I don't know how they define the rules, how they do it. I mean, I'm sure it's something for the good of people, but then they don't really get the staff to look into it and do it themselves. If we do something wrong, we're instantly punished. But if they do something wrong, there's nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so we do understand there's going to be a lot of reasonings behind those new policies and stuff, but certainly, there's something needs to be done for this kind of options where people are actually left in a limbo waiting for the visa processing and stuff. And now we have another question from.
Sorry, Sarah. Before we go ahead,
Mhm.
I think it's good idea to tell everybody as well that if your application is still in process and then it has already passed the time which they specify that it will take them to process, we can actually complain to the GFU and then they can prioritize it from there. I think that's the one thing which is working for sure, which is GFU. Wouldn't you agree, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Amrit said, GFU, it's a global feedback unit. So it's a special part of a Home Affairs department. And if one particular department is not doing their job properly, then you can actually contact that department saying that, look, this department is actually not doing the job properly. I needed some assistance. I'm in this kind of situation. There is all these things going on. So they contact them and say like, hey, what's going on? They just to try and tell them that, like, could get something be done. You probably can get a response in the next 24 to 48 hours from them.
Yeah, and that gets things moving from there.
Absolutely. So we got this question from Lee Can Go. He's
Yeah.
asking, would we need the 2 to 3 years work experience for 186?
What do you think, Sarah?
Absolutely. I would say for 186, you need 3 years of a full-time work experience.
Yes, I do
And
get this question a lot. I need to put it out there that you need 3 years of full-time work experience for 186.
absolutely. And a lot of people, and I was talking to one of my clients this afternoon, and he was saying, but the department website, it only shows 3 years work
Same,
experience.
same
It
questions.
doesn't
Yes.
say exactly. It doesn't say it's a full-time or part-time. I was like, look, we are telling you from the experience. We have access to the migration law database,
Right.
and as per the legislation, you need to have 3 years of a full-time work experience.
Yeah, if
So
you
that's
have to screenshot the department's website and attach it with the application and still lodge the 186 application, I don't think it's worth the risk because they will still refuse it and you will lose your money.
absolutely.
Yeah. So
So
for 482, do you want to specify what's for the 482 and what's for the 186? Sorry.
yes, for 482, 2 years of work experience, and it can also be part-time, sorry, full-time equivalent
Equivalent.
to a part-time. Say, for
Right.
example, if you work 2 months part-time in a restaurant, it equals to 1 month full-time. So you
Right.
can actually use that as a full-time equivalent experience, but that cannot be done for 186. So be
No.
very mindful.
They have specified 38 hours, isn't it? Proper full-time work experience for 3 years, then only you can apply for 186.
Absolutely. And it's actually the time of decision criteria. Okay. So um, talk to your register migration agent so they can actually explain you personally based on your scenario. Some clients, they do come, they're like, hey, I'm only short of 1 month, I'm short of 2 months. What can I do and stuff? So there is a lot of ways around where, we can actually look into those stuff as well for you.
Yeah, you can buy
Um,
some time. Your agent needs to know how to buy some time.
Absolutely. So we got this next question, Amit. That's for, I'll read that out for you.
Yep.
What's the status for 189 in field of IT?
Did we receive any IT invitations today, Saurabh?
No invitations for IT,
Well,
unfortunately.
yeah, most of the invitations were registered, sorry, what was that? Medical professionals.
Medical
And we
professionals.
don't have the exact data out because obviously we're not the only ones who are receiving invitations. There's so many other migration agents in Australia, so we can't talk to everybody right now. So we should have the data on the skill select soon. I don't think there were many of IT for 189. I think if the basically is if you're working in the occupation, you'll have more options. That's what I have to say to you, Vaibhav. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I haven't seen in the last 4 to 5 months any invitations for IT occupations at all. And
Yeah.
even in the month of July, the targeted round was only for engineers. So
Right.
I'm hoping that there should be some kind of a round where where we actually get to hear from for the from skill select to actually allocate some invitations to actually IT occupations as well. So I'm hoping for that day to come where our IT occupants, our candidates can actually get some good hope and some invitations actually for 189.
Because honestly,
And
what I think in this COVID-19, most of the industry which has boomed is IT. Because there were so many people working from home, so many people needing new software, needing new database and everything. And then the credit goes to the IT company that they've made it possible for us to even do live with each other today.
absolutely. So as government said, IT engineers and the health professions. So even for a lot of when they say like engineers, there's a construction businesses. If you are a carpenter, tiler, so those kind of occupations are actually in high demand, where
That's
you
right.
would be able to actually apply for permanent residency down the track. Moving
That's
on to the
right.
next question. Um, we got this question from Saroj Shrestha. He's saying, any chance in
Okay, so
Queensland for MPA and MBA graduate?
I don't think we have any update from Queensland yet, isn't it, Saurabh?
No, we actually haven't got any updates from
Only
Queensland,
for
but
the business.
absolutely. So,
Yes.
Sharoj, since you have done MPA and MBA, you are an accountant, I believe, and it's a little hard for accountants out there at this point of time when it comes to 189 as well. There's as the occupation ceiling has been capped at 1,000 places. So for you, the best option if you are in Queensland, try to look for these the small business owner 491 option for Queensland.
Yeah.
If you
And
started your
then,
485, exactly.
right. we'll have to wait until October, or maybe to wait for an update once they open up. What are they prioritizing? But mostly Queensland is really good for new business owners. Even if you invest as little as $100,000 in any industry, they would, recommend you to have state nomination.
Absolutely, and you just need to have Australian hire Australian citizens, employees working with you, and Queensland authorities are actually really I really like them, like how they actually post their
They're quick.
videos and stuff. Exactly,
They're
they
quick.
actually post their results of their 491 visa holders on their Facebook. This morning they
Yeah.
posted something about someone who actually opened a massage shop in Gold Coast, and the person actually granted a 491 visa. So
Yeah, I was sorry, but I was in their webinar, I think a few months back, where they specified that they don't have exact numbers of the October round when it comes. But then they said, even if you are a new business owner, it doesn't have to be in the same skilled occupation as your skills assessment. Anything that you will open up with as little as $100,000, we will like to hear from you. That's what they said. Exactly.
absolutely. And so moving on to the next one, Gayan. So he's asking that in the current context, what is the likelihood of the visa grant for employee sponsor for painting trades worker? At the moment, I have seen only invitations for the critical workers. Do you suggest to go to regional Victoria and try 491?
Okay, I think he's saying as employee sponsor. Are
Yes.
we talking about 482, 186, or 491? Is that the question, Saurabh?
So so this is what he has actually posted out. Um, so Gayan is actually my client, and
Okay, you would know
so we
better.
are actually assisting him as well. And glad that he actually watching us live and posting his questions.
Well
It's really
done.
good to see you here, Gayan, and make sure you let your friends know as well that we are providing this kind of information, assisting other people as well. Um, so in your context, as you know that for 482 you would need to have 2 years of work experience. That's primary and it's very important. And when it comes to painting trades worker as well, so currently it's actually in the MLT SSL list. And there were some rumors, and there were some this occupation was highlighted to go into the ROL in the S2 SOL list, but
Yeah,
we haven't actually heard anything about that yet. It might happen, but we don't know, and it might not happen. No one knows about that yet, whether
yeah,
those lists would be implemented. And in regards to going to the regional Victoria and trying for 491, obviously, I would say keep all your options open. Don't stick
yeah.
to one particular visa subclass.
And see, if you're not having the option of 482, 186, then it's ideal to go for the 491 in my suggestion, because if you keep on continuing for 189 and the points is too high, with 491 you have that assurance that, okay, you're gonna get permanent residency after 3 years. You just have to work in the regional. You just have to make 53,900 annual income. It could be 2 jobs, 3 jobs, it could be self-employment. It doesn't matter how it is. You just have to live your life and work, basically, and after
And
3 years
then
you'll get your PR.
absolutely, and it's actually a very secured pathway.
Right.
And you do get like you do get Medicare benefits as soon as you get your 491 visa grant. Plus you also get Centrelink benefits as well, because if you go onto the Centrelink website, 491 holders are considered as Australian permanent residents as per
Wow.
the Social Security Act. So look,
Well,
there are plenty of options. If you are eligible for 491, just get it. Don't look for the bigger options out there.
yeah, because
Um,
God knows how long 491 will be there for.
Absolutely. So now this is a very big question, and
Wow.
I'll read that out to you.
Okay.
Um, so it's from Abhishek, and he's saying, "I'm now studying masters in health service management in University of South Australia, second semester. By this time, I have been selected for PhD in Uni Adelaide with full scholarship. I'm an overseas doctor. Hopefully, I will start PhD from February next February. By this
Yeah.
time, I will claim post-grad diploma after one. By this time, I will claim post-grad diploma after 1 year of my current master's course. I am an overseas doctor. How should I approach for my PR in future?
I think this is a very detailed and a particular scenario. I think. Do you think you can answer this here, or because it looks a bit
Because
complex to me?
yeah, this is with this kind of questions, it's actually when he's saying that he's an overseas doctor, and so the first
There's a
step is
lot
you
of
have to go
things.
through exactly. There's we need to see if you have any specialization, how long have you been practicing as well. You need to go through the AMC exam process. Once you pass that
Right.
exam, then you have to do the the registration process. You probably get restrictive registration, and with the with the restrictive registration, you have to work with an employer for at least 12 months to get your full registration. So your full registration is your skill assessment, then only probably you'll be
Yeah.
able to apply
I
for
think
something.
it's best for Visak for you to either contact Saurabh or me directly, because there's a lot of things that go behind. Your question is an open question. I would tell you one thing is with a PhD and being a doctor, I think your future is pretty bright.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. On in a nutshell, yeah, you are in the right track. And if you
Yeah.
because you're starting your PhD now, and a PhD usually takes 4 years. And so a lot of things can happen in 4 years' time. So try to use what you have already done in the past, that you are an overseas doctor. Try to use that
While doing
kind
the
of
PhD. Yeah.
exactly. And so the next one, Verona say, thank you so much,
Right.
Amrit and Saurabh.
Thank you,
No
Varana.
worries. And the next one is Navneet. And she's saying that I'm looking to get my sister enrolled in study who is overseas, completed her 12th recently. Shall we wait for the borders to reopen or act on this now?
Well, I think personally, to avoid any gaps in the study, universities are actually giving you options to study online while being overseas. And I think it's ideal to start acting on it now while there is no gap. Because as the gap builds up, then you don't really meet the genuineness of being a student in Australia. Um, my suggestion personally is, I know there are a lot of people out there who would say, I've started studying. I just need to go to Australia as soon as possible. I don't want to waste my money studying in India or wherever it is. But then I think, to prove your genuineness, what better way to do? You can just start studying online. You can choose one subject at a time. There are universities who are providing you scholarship on online studies. You don't have to waste a lot of money. Plus, you prove that you're a genuine student. What do you say, Saurabh?
Absolutely. Look, if your sister who has actually recently finished her year 12, depending upon what she did study in year 12, so there's a plenty of options do available to her in terms of her future career prospects as well as her higher education in Australia.
Yeah.
So yeah, the options are abundant, and then you can actually apply. You can actually start the process as soon as possible as well. There is
Yeah.
no need for you to wait until the borders are reopened, because as Amrit said, if you start studying there right now, it will actually increases your her chance of actually obtaining a successful visa grant.
Right. And then department has also notified that, you can apply for the visa. It just doesn't mean that you will be able to travel as until the borders open. So it's even more surety for you if you're studying online and you've already received your visa. You just have to wait for the borders to open and continue
Absolutely,
study.
and yeah, and we have seen some visas being granted as well,
Right.
from overseas people. Absolutely, so
Pretty quick these days, aren't they?
yeah. But I don't
Irony.
understand the logic behind, granting the offshore visas, because people cannot travel and then the time actually starts.
It's just that they're giving them some assurance that here's your visa. Now stay quiet for a
Mm,
little bit. And
absolutely.
And then the good thing is, your online studies, which you do overseas, will still be considered for your future 485 visa later on. It still be considered. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're nearly
So
done.
yeah, we pretty much done. So it's the last question. And then yeah, and then we'll just let viewers know, what we're gonna be doing in the next Friday. about how we're going to run the session. And if they do have any questions well in advance, they can actually send us those kind of questions through before, and then we will have those answers ready for them by Friday as well. So this is
Yes.
last question.
Okay.
And yes, so there you go.
This is for you. Hi, sir. My
Yeah.
wife already living in Australia, on study visa and doing masters in Murdoch University. Post-study BSc nursing in India with 3 years of work experience. We applied student visa, combined dependent visa offshore. It has been 11 months. Oh, poor. But still not received. Please, can you tell us when we'll receive any chance combined visa? I am offshore, my wife onshore. What do you think,
Okay,
Saurabh?
I think he's talking about dependent visa that he has actually
Yeah,
applied. So currently, if you are in India, Indian embassy, they do to take more than 12 months sometimes, to process your dependent visa. As in your case, it has been 11 months, so you are almost sitting at right at the edge.
right at the end.
They probably be looking at your case maybe by Monday morning, or maybe they're just trying to
Good luck.
go through those. Good luck with that one.
That's
And
right.
as you know, even though if you do get the visa, you cannot actually travel to Australia because of the travel restrictions.
That's
And
right.
currently, exactly, and we did hear back from them that they are actually in the process of only processing cases which are actually quite critical in nature. So when they look at, maybe for them your case might not be as critical as the other case, that could be more critical, where the person has already been granted a travel exemption.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
there's a
and
lot of
then
government policies in
yeah,
place.
so like Saurabh said, you might get a good news on Monday morning as well, but then it depends on how long the visa is for. So I've had a client, not a client actually, a person whom I knew from India. He actually received the same visa, and then I think it's only for 4 or 5 months. And do you think that we'll have borders open within next 4 or 5 months? That's a bummer that he just got the visa but can't travel anymore. Saurabh, are you there with me? I think we're experiencing some technical difficulties. Well, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, or is it just me or Saurabh? Um, but then I would like to thank you everybody for joining. And I'm sure that Manjit, you've received your answer. And I would like to thank you everybody for being here today, looking at our live broadcast. And I can see Geeta messaging great work. Thank you, Geeta. We really appreciate everybody being here today, and we'll continue to do these sort of lives every Friday. You can also contact us via our Facebook, and then you can also text us, or WhatsApp us as well. If you have particular questions or you want us to discuss a particular visa option for you, do let us know so we can prepare that for you. We're just, I don't know where Saurabh gone. I'm sorry, guys. Well, I think I would end it up now. It's Friday night. I don't want to take any more of your time here. Stay safe, guys. Stay at home. If you have to go outside, then only go. Follow the restrictions which is in your area. My name is Amrit. I think Saurabh's here. I think he's
Yes,
here.
I
You're here, Saurabh.
actually.
We discussed about this earlier, and you actually did it to me.
So we had this. Somehow my internet actually had some issues, and
Oh, I
I
thought it
actually
was
had
gonna
to.
be me. The last thing I wanted to do was talking to myself. Well, I was only wrapping
No,
up, Saurabh. Do you have your final words if you want to say?
yeah. So look, there will probably be some questions, that have not been answered yet, but we will try our best to answer them later after this show. And and we probably will try our best to visit to see you guys again sometime next week as well. And if you do have recommendation, if you want us to do in another language, say Hindi or Punjabi, we are more than happy to do that as well.
Yeah, I only know
Provide us
English,
with your
Punjabi, sorry, and I don't know any other language.
exactly, and provide us with your feedback, and that's important as well. And make sure you share this with your friends and families, and
Right.
only, yeah, take migration assistance from a registered migration agent. And
That's very
my
important.
Mara number, absolutely, and my Mara number is 1802044. My phone number is
My,
0430081804.
go ahead.
And now I'll get Amrit to give out her
Thank you,
details.
Saurabh. My Mara number is 180162. You can search us on Omara website. You will know that we're registered. And if you're taking advice from any other person, you should search on Omara again. My phone number is 0492810604. We're happy for you to contact us on Facebook, or you can WhatsApp us. And it's been really lovely to do these sessions again, because I've been really, in a weird zone, sitting at home doing work and not seeing many people. So it's good to communicate, Saurabh, how do you feel?
Absolutely, like we get to answer so many questions, trying to provide as much information as possible to the clients, and to our broad audience out there. So it's actually a really good way of communicating with these people in the current dire circumstances of COVID-19.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think everybody should, just do more of this, because it feels good to talk to people again, not just, for people that you're living with, or just your, existing clients. It's good to talk to other people around. And then we'll be happy to get some more feedback from you guys. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be overseas in Victoria, Tasmania, anywhere in Australia, anywhere in the world. We would love to see what you liked best in the show. We would love to see what your feedback and your take on is. And we'll go from there from next time.
absolutely. And we always welcome questions, and we are more than happy to provide you those, with the answers live as well. And talking about questions, let's just take the last final question from Sarib
Okay.
Azaz. And
Okay.
yes, I will let you take this one.
Okay. Well, it says, sir, sir, I am
Oh,
on 476 visa, 9 months left in Sydney, New South Wales at the moment, and got assessment as telecommunications engineer. What next for me? What should I do next? Okay, I will let you answer, because I know you are good with engineers.
oh well, thanks for that. When it comes to 476 and you only have 9 months left, you should know that you cannot apply for any other visas afterwards. So what I would recommend you is actually with the telecommunication engineer. The list is going to be out very soon. And when we'll know, because as a telecommunication, it also depends upon a lot of circumstances, such as what's your PT score, have you done NATI test, are you currently
Yeah.
employed in telecommunications,
Do you have any
and
previous work experience?
exactly. So there's a lot of factors in place. And clearly, when it comes to telecommunication engineer, a quick tip to all our viewers:
Yeah.
NBN is being rolled out.
Perfect. Perfect. That's what I was going to put in. But thank you, Sarah, for bringing that up.
Yeah, look for jobs in NBN. Like there's
And that
nothing
is a
better
big
than,
industry.
exactly. And then if you can get a job in NBN, there's so many. Sometimes people have to do like a 1 or 2 months of a certificate course to actually learn the mechanisms of NBN. Plus, with their degree, they probably be able to actually get a better outcome. With that kind of a scenario.
That's right. So if you would know your options anyway, Saurabh. If you're not working at the moment and you only have 9 months left, if we can't figure out any other way, I think it's best to take up that education right now as soon as possible, if you have to apply for student visa in the future, or maybe 407.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah, because the longer you wait, then the departments, they do ask about why you actually waited so long, and those kind of questions,
You
they do come up. Exactly. So you have to tie those questions back to your genuineness of your study as well, like whether you are actually a genuine temporary entrant.
I
So
think that's
those
the worst power that I like about the government, is they would put genuineness in anything and then refuse it.
mm,
That, because genuineness is so vast and each person has different interpretation for it. and you know what might be what might feel genuine to us might not feel genuine to the other person. So
Absolutely.
well, it's time to
So
get started on your actions. One thing I wanted to tell everybody, and I think Sora would agree with me, have a plan, guys. Don't just go blinded in that. Don't just be like, okay, I've got my 485, I've got my 476, I have 2 years, 18 months to wait and find out what are my options. As soon as you get that visa, consult somebody who's registered and find out what's your next best option, what should be your next step, and have that skills assessment ready to go, please.
absolutely, yeah. Look, I can't add anything more to that, but that's actually a very genuine advice. That don't wait too long. Plan, always plan ahead. And as soon as you get your 485 granted, think of this: that your 730 days, um, is actually going. Your 800, your 730 days has actually started. The countdown has begun,
That's right.
and so that's pretty much.
Okay, Saurabh, do you think we should end now? It's already 7:30 now. People need to cook
Absolutely.
dinner.
Yeah, no, so it's good to see everyone here, and we are more than happy to actually see you guys again in the future as
Yes,
well. And make sure you do ask us your questions and stuff, and we are very happy to
feedback,
answer those questions.
perfect. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank you,
very good
everyone.
night. Enjoy your weekend. Stay at home. Stay safe. Okay.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone. Good night.
Bye.